All right, so this is the second session in the current trio. We had three Baccarat shoes most recently, which mostly went very well. Plus another one. That was jammy. Plus another one. Blimey. Something's gone wrong here. As I said, blimey. Whoa! I thought he was going to get it too. This is just bizarre. But it does happen, let's face it. All right, we're back to the minimum now. We had lots of 1-2-5s there, so we don't want to be greedy. Double for the loss. One, two. Back to the min. Plus one. Plus one. That would be 1-2. Okay, back to the min. Double. Doubles are falling very well for us right now. All right, so the slight hiccup in the clock there was, excuse me, I think that's a plus. Was for me to get a swig of my coffee. Love that stuff. 1-2. 3-4. Okay, maybe the party's over. Maybe not. All right. Plus one. No, it's back to minimum. What am I talking about? There's a jammy one up there. And he's allowed it. Once in a blue moon. Wait! Okay, that's like 2-3, I think. Woo! 5-6. Those are nice. I like double downs when they're big and they work. I like dealer 22s almost as much because they're always profitable. 51. Oh, spacer. That's a repeat. That's a double. And God, we've got a long way to go. We're doing quite well. Less than 5 minutes. It is fascinating watching these guys, these professional losers, though. They really are doing their best to lose. I mean, they really do bet like twerps. And it has to be deliberate. And they can't possibly be that stupid. Oh, okay, 1-2. Well, that's rubbish, isn't it? Damn it. 5-6. Oh, got the hard way to 21. 5-6, 11-6 drop. Okay, so we made 6 there. Excuse me. So it's 5-6 again. Bugger. 11-12. Ouch! Ouch! Oh dear. We'll do 23-25, and then we're going to run away from this one. Doing so well for so long, right? Ah! All right, 48-25, which is going to become 5-3 x1k, minus 100 on the dark side, 97,525 over there, which means 2,000 minus 2,475 from our marker. Okay. Going to stop the clock and find a nice new table. Yeah, I must confess I kind of like it when a gag situation arises because it just illustrates the whole point of this strategy. Anyway, we're at 5-3, which means the drop has to be 1. Six three, damn it. That's a double. Ah! Can't do anything right suddenly. 8-3, that's how it goes sometimes. Uh-oh. Yeah, 8-3, so that's 7-3 then now. Oh, bugger. 7-3, well, I can't go 7-8 because that's just too high, so I'm going to have to stay with the 7-3. Ah, 10-6. Damn it, nothing is working suddenly. Oh dear. Oh, and finally we got a break. Okay, so 10. What did I just do? Did I say 10-6? 7-3, 10-6, and we got, yeah, all right. So we're in good shape. We turned around because we got the double down. So that gives us 7,000 over here, and we're down 2,475 at the shoe that I just gagged. So that puts us at what, 4,525 up? Yeah, all right. In just under 10 minutes. Let's just go back to the minimum. And please don't get exercised about the fact that I couldn't make a minimum bet at the same table. It just isn't worth talking about. It does not matter. a damn, a jot, a tittle. All right, back to the minute. I'm just going to play this out till, I don't know, a few more minutes. Yeah, the thing to always keep in mind is that obviously nothing changes just because the bets are big. You know, probabilities don't change, possibilities don't change, potential doesn't change, negative expectation doesn't change. Every bet faces the same negative expectation, which means that it's more likely to lose than to win. That is just a fact. All right, that's 1-2. Damn it. Well, we needed that one, didn't we? Back to the men. That's a double. Got worse. Just made it a push. All right. Double for the push. +1. 1, 2. Oh, I like that. Back to the men. It's so important, falling back to the minimum. Once you got your money in the bag. Oh, another 22 up there. I like it. Okay, that was just about another coffee fix. And then, of course, I forget where I was, so I'm just going to assume. Ow! 1-2. Well, that was tidy. I'll go to 15 minutes, maybe. Nice one. Wizard. Oh, he's going after me now, isn't he? 3, 4. Ouch. 7, 8. Well, I don't know. I think that's a good time to quit, actually. We're at 13 minutes. So that's the last. So, 7,825 minus 2,475 gives us a win of 5,350 in 13 minutes. And yes, we had to dig deep, but I think, it's just so important that people understand. Anybody who wants to really beat these games, you have to be able to spread wide, and you have to have very, very deep pockets. In other words, a bloody big bankroll. You also have to stay sober, stay alert, never play if you're feeling subpar for any reason at all, tired, hungry, any of those things. Because whatever happens, the casinos are going to be there 24 hours, and they'll be there, sort of like in 8 hours' time, 10 hours' time, tomorrow, next week, whatever. And the idea that anything changes right after a shuffle. I mean, you'll watch these professional losers so often where they will be betting high and then a shuffle will come and they'll drop to a lower bet. There's no reason for that. No reason for it at all. It makes absolutely no sense. Logically, mathematically, it just does not make sense. But they do it all the time. And therefore, of course, if they're in the hole, they reduce their chances of getting out of the hole. Because the whole objective of this strategy is quite simply to try to ensure that you've got the right bet out at the right time. So you push, 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 then you take a step back because it could be the start of a very, very long losing streak. So you step back to protect yourself. With Baccarat, of course, you hop, but that's a whole other question. I'm in my blackjack mode right now. But just remember, the amount of the bet doesn't change a damn thing. Cuts don't, burns don't, penetration, whatever it is, whether it's, you pay no attention to stuff like, oh, okay, well that game's no good because they put the shuffle card 2 decks in from the back. Oh dear, oh whoa. Yes, it might matter to card counters, but I'm sorry. I have done my best with card counting. I cannot make it work. And I'm not saying because I can't do it. I can do it in my sleep. But I'm not interested because what you're supposed to do with card counting is relate your bet to the deck value, and it doesn't work. It's that simple. So I've tried, and all of these archive things, all of them have the count up here, and it's damn accurate. So, I've got to keep meaning to communicate with the guys from, Blackjack Apprenticeship, to see if they recognize the value of this sim as a means of tracking the count, the true count and the running count, as you see up above there. Anyway, enough of that. I'll talk to you later. All right then, so time for another Excel analysis, which I find very useful, and I hope somebody else out there does too. Because but part of the purpose of these things really is to just demonstrate again and again how important the numbers are and how important it is to respect the numbers, to understand the numbers, to be ready for pretty much anything coming down the pike, and to just be confident and stick with it through thick and thin. And thick and thin is what you're going to see. I mean, this last number 149 was really sticky at times. Let's go back to the charts for that. And as you can see, we had a pretty bloody shitty time here. But we stuck with it, and we were able to stick with it because we had a huge bankroll. Also, a lot of wins behind us, because by the time we got to the start of this one, we were already 182,000 ahead. So, that's a big help. But the bankroll would have been there ready if it had got, it did get really nasty. We went 127,167 in the hole before we started to see turnaround. And it came right here, and it came in a big way because we had a monster bet out and doubled down and hit woohoo, But you're not going to see that all the time. But the most important thing to always keep in mind with these with these games is that they're all about volatility, and volatility is what builds the casinos. It's what basically gives the casinos their advantage. Volatility combined with the fact that people are simply not ready to deal with the pressure when it gets really tough, and also they don't have enough money to get them through the tough times. I mean, basically, you've got to think in terms of, sort of having enough resources to be able to sort of stay in the boat when it starts to really rock. You don't want to be jumping overboard, running away. Certainly, gag if you need to, which of course means get up and go to another shoe. And in number 150, that happens, and it happens in the previous one too. But what you see here is, you see that last time we prevailed against a house edge of nearly 5%. It was 5 more losses than wins, giving the house an edge of 4.6%. And, people like Vegas Matt and John Sirasani and Mr. Handpay and all the rest, they all failed dismally the moment they get into a situation where they lose more bets than they win. simply because they don't have a plan. And of course, you have to think that the probable situation is that they can't have a plan, because if they had a plan which they were teaching viewers, subscribers, to learn from and to put into action for themselves, they would be working against the interests of the casinos. And these guys are above all sort of like propagandists for the casino, cheerleaders for the casino business, mouthpieces, performing seals, house-trained pets, whatever you want to call them. But, when you think about it, I mean, Mr. Handpay boasts about all the great things that he gets from Foxwoods, for gambling there, penthouse suite, meals up the wazoo, promotional chips, first-class flights, all this kind of stuff. Does he really think that they do that because they like him? No, they do it because they know that he is their best advertiser. And YouTube, of course, is a unique advertising platform for these people. So anyway, what happened here, of course, is we went through crap right here. I mean, it was just horrible. We had some wins in there, and of course we got turnarounds, which is what the professional losers don't do, because they don't think in terms of, okay, I'm in the hole, this is how much I need to get out. They just keep throwing money down the toilet, with no real plan. Sirasani is I used to think Vegas Matt was the worst player that I've witnessed on YouTube, but that's not true. It's definitely Sirasani. He really is. The Pits, and this is the guy who claims that he's the best blackjack player in America, and maybe even the whole wide world. But hey, people can say what they want. They put a guy in the White House who lied repeatedly about how brilliant he was, and everybody sort of sucked it up and believed it. And I think there's now buyer's remorse. But hey, that's a whole other story. Going back to this one, what you see in the red line here, this is the actual value, which is what would happen if you were betting just one unit on every single round. You actually go from here to here, which means it's a plus session. Here it got in the toilet for a bit, went down to 244,000 in profit from this was the high point up here, I think, 261. So not really a terrible exposure this time, but you have to be able to battle through the bad crap, so that you can benefit from things like this. And as I was saying, these really are wasted wins, because they're only getting one unit each time. You start off with the minimum unit, and then if you start off with a win, then add one unit, add one unit, add one unit, and so on. And it'd be very nice to be able to say to the house, okay, what I need now is 3 wins in a row, dealer. Thank you very much. And then they promptly dealt you 3 wins in a row. Does not work like that, unfortunately. We all know that. And that's how the casinos get built, and so on and so on and so on. People just not understanding the numbers, not understanding the games, not having enough money, and necking way too many so-called free cocktails, which I think pretty much everybody pays at least twice the market rate for. You see these guys ordering their dirty martinis and their various drinks and handing over $25 chips to the waitress, and the same drink at the bar would cost them $5 max. So I think the concept of free cocktails is probably a little old-fashioned now, and of course many of the free cocktails are old-fashioned. But hey, that's another story. So down we go, looking at this lot, and here we got into trouble. We hit this shitty patch here. Every time I see these, I think, well, in real play, would I actually stick around for that? I think I'd probably sort of take fright, because running away doesn't change anything, except obviously it just gives you a breather, it gives you a chance to take stock and decide what you want to do next. It certainly doesn't affect probabilities, possibilities, and any of the sort of mathematical equations that apply to these games. It just doesn't make any difference at all. But anyway, here we go. we got into trouble, and then we had to bet 18,000. And one thing to note, of course, is that in the real world, these would all be rounded up, into thousands or whatever. I don't bother with that stuff because I try to keep the algorithm. Well, it has to be kept accurate. It has to be right. It has to be fair, proper, consistent, and all the rest of it. But roundups are pretty much irrelevant. So this is the algorithm here working. So the bet was 18,800, and we caught a successful double down. So that gave us a huge profit, way above what we were expecting. We were expecting 125, and instead we got an extra 18,800. So that's very nice. When you look at the session as a whole, we had 11 more wins than losses, and these things happen; they really do. And so that gave us a player edge of 18.4%, and pattern betting turned that into a 27% house edge by winning 21,350 on action of 107,000, 108,000. And here's some other numbers that are relevant. We won 21,300 and whatever. And the average win was 1,482, excuse me. Average loss was 8,888. Isn't that tidy? It is 88, isn't it? Yeah, it is, yeah. 167% when you take the average win value over the average loss value. So that's good. But now what we have to look at is what actually happened when I was playing online, making my mistakes as I sometimes do, and so on. And here, of course, you've got the opening again, with the 125 being the cap. And this is my preference. I mean, I just think that, once you get to 125, going 25, 50, 75, 100, blah, 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 you're making enough. And you don't want to just overdo it. I mean, here I could have gone 150, 175, 200, and then I'd have lost 200. So, it's just, one of the worst things that hurts players the most is greed. Stupidity is probably number one. Not enough bankroll is number two. Too much booze is number three. Greed is, it's deadly, absolutely deadly. You've got to know when you have won enough. And that's what all these green bars, these turnarounds are about. Okay, we say, fine, we have won enough. So here, in real play, I had to go to 6,000, not 18,800, as before with the algorithm, and still caught the same not lucky, just expected winning double down, and so that boosted us quite nicely. Not as much as with the algorithm, but hey, we did fine. Here again, we've got an 18.4% house edge, and it was converted by my play, by me using the pattern betting rules in real time, not with real money, unfortunately, but in real time. From 18.4 to 19.2%. That's good. That's fine. The reason that it was much higher with the algorithm, of course, is that the double down bet that paid off, this one here, was for a much larger amount of money. Well over 18,000, nearly 19,000. So that's the difference. Average win 612. Average loss 512. Average win over average loss 120. The most important thing is you've got to win more when you win than you lose when you lose. And I know I keep banging on about that, but it's something that lots of people resist, the very idea that you can bet in such a way that you achieve that. I've demonstrated it thousands of times now, but I don't have a big audience because I don't promote this channel whatsoever. I will do eventually, but I've got better things to do right now. I'm more concerned with just improving the quality of the of the uploads of the videos, the demos, than anything else. And now I've lost myself. I do this all the time. It's advancing age does it. I'm thinking to myself, okay, what do I say next? And then I forget what I was saying now a moment ago. So there we go. Oh yeah, what I was talking about basically is the difficulty convincing people of this: win more when you win, and you lose when you lose. And when I first floated this online in 1996, which bloody hell is nearly 30 years ago, I got loads of people coming back to me saying, "Oh yeah, right, we get it. You bet more when you know you're going to win, and you bet less when you know you're going to lose." Well, of course, that's casino-fed bloody crap, bullshit, bollocks. It's stupidity. You can demonstrate any time on the back of an envelope how doable it is to win more when you win than you lose when you lose. But most people playing these table games don't care about any of this stuff, which is why my audience is tiny. Most people just don't care. They're going out for thrills and spills and jeopardy and excitement and so-called free booze, and they're paying through the nose for everything if they're in Las Vegas. I cannot believe the way Las Vegas is now. I mean, it was always Sin City. Now it's Rip-Off City. It's just dreadful. I had so many happy, wonderful times in Las Vegas over so many years. And it was, for me, of course, I was in the entertainment journalism business, so I got freebies anyway. But it was just, everything was so great. You felt welcome. You had dealers who were terrific. You had games that were playable because you could start with a $2 minimum. I think the minimum now on the strip is 25, which is why I've set all my sims, my two important sims anyway, to 25 minimum. It was just great value, great fun, and you could make decent money. And I always did when I went to Las Vegas. I mean, I had some bumpy times. I was telling one of my baccarat buddies the other day about my adventures at what used to be called the Union Plaza, because it was right by the station there in downtown. And in those days, you could go to the cashiers, and if they had you on record, you could write a check for, say, $1,000, and they would take it from you, and then they would put it in a little file that was set aside specially for you. It was alphabetical, card file, and all the rest of it. Bump, they dropped the check in, and if you needed more, you didn't get a marker or anything like that. You just go back and say, need another 1,000, and they take the check from you, repeat the process. And then when you won, you take your chips and you say, okay, I've got 2,400 in chips here, and I've got 2 outstanding checks. And they'd go and they'd find them and they'd give them to you, and you'd tear them up. It was that simple. It was absolutely terrific. I mean, no problems whatsoever. And I had one classic night where I actually did go 2,000 in the hole at the Union Plaza, fought all night to get back out of the hole, and when I finally cashed out, I'd made $150. But back then, I'm talking about back in the sort of like late 70s, early 80s, $150 was worth having. That was a decent amount of money to make for a sacrificed night's sleep. But anyway, that's a nonsense story. It doesn't matter. But what I'm trying to say to you is you simply have to stick with it, which means you've got to have balls, you've got to have bankroll, you've got to be sober, you've got to be sensible, you've got to know what you're doing, know what you're up against, not lose your cool, not lose your bottle, just keep going. And it's like the old story about when you're going through hell, keep going. And that's what it's about. And then these guys on YouTube, these professional losers, it's so depressing because they have thousands behind them, millions. And certainly in the case of Vegas Matt anyway. And Vegas Matt, every time he plays these damn table games, he acts as if he's never done it before, and he certainly acts as if he hasn't lost 250,000, 300,000, or whatever. I think his current figure for the year is a loss of $500,000 To him, that's not even a month's wages from Mughal, the cash cow. That's nothing. I mean, he can easily afford that because by the time he gets to the end of the year, he's going to have at least 6 million in profit, and so losing 1 million along the way, it's just an overhead. It's just a cost of doing business. So his bloody shit about my gambling is as real as it gets really is exactly that. It's BS. But people lap it up. They really do. It's just so weird. So here you've got it again. The usual story for pattern betting, session 150, all the way down to 583,000 ahead from up here where we were 593,000 ahead. So we didn't suffer too much, and it was a positive session in terms of we had more wins than losses. Quite a few actually. It was 11, wasn't it? 11 more wins than losses. That doesn't happen very often. It should happen more often, but I can't persuade the casinos to change the rules so that it's a more common thing. So I've talked too much as usual. Not as bad perhaps as John Sirasani, but well, maybe I am. Maybe I'm worse actually. I don't know. You decide. Yeah, I'm afraid there's absolutely no good news for anybody who fervently believes that it's possible to beat these house games, particularly blackjack, in the long run with a narrow betting spread. And to explain a bit more about what exactly that means, you take somebody like Jason Bulkey, Mr. Handpay. He very, 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 very rarely spreads wider than 1 to 10, which is 500 to 5,000. Occasionally he goes nuts and will splash out and push 10,000 or more out on the table, but mostly 1 to 10 is about his deal. So if we change this number up here, which is the multiplier for that versus that to get the maximum bet that we allow ourselves to make, okay? Change that to 10 to be in line with Jason's approach. And what do you see? You see a terrible collapse. And this number up here, which is the number of bets since the most recent turnaround, 2,280 bets, which has got to be about 40 hours, something like that. Maybe not as many as 40 hours, but certainly 30 hours since the last time he saw a turnaround. So that just doesn't work. 20, let's give that a go. And what do we get? We get 2,321, still crap here. 50 maybe? So that's 25 to 1,250. Still a negative outcome. Not good news at all. Let's go to 500. Less of a negative outcome, but still negative. And the reason for that, of course, is that the gross house advantage here is 6%, minus 6% to the player. That's why it's in a minus up there. The net house advantage is minus 2.6%. And the difference between those two is that the gross is just saying, okay, this is the number of times bets won, and this is the number of times that bets lost. Okay, so you take one against the other, and you end up with with this number, which is lower because it takes into account, the net number up here takes into account things like 3-2 payoffs on blackjacks and double down wins and double down losses and so on. So it takes those all at face value rather than just win or loss, which is the way that that most people looking at these numbers are satisfied to leave it with the gross. So the gross here, as you can see, is 175 more losses than wins, and when you winnow that down to net, you get 78 more losses than wins. Either way, it's pretty bloody shitty, isn't it? 500 doesn't work, does it? How about 1,000? Still no good. So let's go 1,250 and see how we get on with that. Oh my God, it got worse. Now let's go to 1500. And bingo, we get 7 bets since the most recent turnaround. And we're looking now at a maximum of 25 is the minimum and 37,500 is the maximum. Smart thing to do up there is to just turn that into 2,000. And we get a 50,000 max, which is well within the sort of the range that's bet by the likes of Dana White, the improbable genius who managed to beat I think it was the Venetian, 23 nights in a row for more than $1 million a night playing baccarat. And then in a different version of the story, it was from early January to early March, or was it late January to early March? Anyway, it was just a ridiculous amount of time, 6 weeks on the next telling. And that same story, $1 million a night for blah, blah, blah. And then Dana White talks about how he actually dented the quarterly report, the total win for one particular casino. He doesn't name it, and that's not surprising because it cannot possibly be true. One player is never going to erode the overall edge that the house has, the overall win percent. If that's possible, then they're in big trouble. They're doing something wrong. They're not offering enough games. It can't even be contemplated. It's just too ridiculous. But anyway, I mentioned Dana White a lot simply because he really gets my goat, by which I don't mean the greatest of all time. I mean, he gets my bloody dander up because he tells these big white lies, which are just, I think, unforgivable because they just mislead everybody. They give people out there the impression that these games can be easily beaten if you just know what you're doing. And knowing what you're doing at baccarat is ridiculous. You don't even decide when to hit and when to stand. It's the rules are laid out for you. And it's all done by the dealer. So, come on. But anyway, when you go to a really, really wide spread, 25 to 50,000, then you see the 2.6 house advantage there turned into a 6% advantage for the player. And, it's perfectly reasonable for you to look at this and say, well, that's bloody ridiculous. I can't possibly do that. I can't afford to play that play that kind of game. That's the whole point of what I've been doing all these years, is to simply try to show people, if you try to tackle these games without the proper resources, you're a bloody idiot. It cannot be done. The casinos know it can't be done. The casinos also know that progressive betting, like pattern betting, is their only enemy. That's why they have table limits. That's why they'll say, okay, you can bet from 25 to 500. You can bet from 500 to 10,000. You can bet from, 10,000 to 200,000 or whatever. But what they know is player psychology. They know that people will normally bend over. They'll start to get badly hit after they've maybe had a really good winning run, and they start to think, well, I can get through this. And so they just keep betting at the same level at the table limit, and they keep slipping further and further down the slippery slope into the deep red pit of hell, and that's the way people are. And that's why table limits don't upset anybody except people like me, And the simple answer to table limits is, okay, you start, let's say it's 25 to 1,000, okay? So here, after all this bloody crap has come down the shoe, at this point, you can't bet 1,200 because they won't let you, because it's above the table limit. So you just go to another table and you play on. And at the next table, you turn around. Then you have to go back to 25. So, hey, spend a little shoe leather, get a bit of exercise, go back to the minimum table and start over. What I used to do when I used this strategy, well, it wasn't quite as good as it is now, I must confess, but that's, that's evolution for you. That's the way us human beings are. We keep improving things and working hard and tweaking and twiddling and all the rest of it, not to cheat, but to do things better. That's the whole point. So, you know, what I used to do is I'd say, okay, so I can't bet the next bet because it's over the limit. So I'm going to remember or scribble down, because my memory was better in those days, but now it's not so great. Scribble down on a notepad that I kept in my back pocket, write down the down and the out where I had to stop, go back, start another sequence. If the next series ends up hitting the table limit, write that down, fall back to the minimum. Then get on with pins, walk around a bit, find a higher rent table, and play out the sort of suspended down and out until it turns around. If I hit the table limit again, same process. It's the way it's done, you know. But hey, most people are not interested in that stuff. They don't care. They want excitement, they want jeopardy, they want thrills, and above all, they want to get rid of their money, because pretty much all gamblers expect to lose, and you know what? They even hope to lose. They want to lose, because it's part of the whole kind of, I don't know, the jolt that they get from gambling is getting their butts kicked. So that's how folks are. But anyway, take it or leave it, same old story. That's how it is. 1,500 will get you there. Drop this back down to 1,000. Not good enough. 567 bets since the most recent turnaround, you know, and that's how it is. 1250, I think. Did we see that? It got us there, didn't it? No, that didn't work. 1,300. Oops, that's 13,000. That'll definitely get us there. 325,000. Yeah. Right. Okay. Oh, we got a freeze going there. Oh, that should have been 1300. Nope. 1400. That'll work. Nope. 1500. There we go. You know, so that's how it is, and you don't expect to make a minimum bet at the same table where you just put out 50,000. I only just let that slide when I'm doing these demos, simply because it'd be a major pain in the arse to have to keep starting up a new table and falling back to the minimum. It doesn't make any difference. The odds don't change. The negative expectation that you face applies to every damn bet you make. It's more likely to lose than to win. You have to deal with that. You have to understand that, to know it, and just accept it, and then work around it with pattern betting, which is pretty bloody powerful, I got to tell you. But anyway, there we have it. And I'm going back to sleep now.
Yes, you play by the book, and you do. If the cards are feeling right.
Right.
If you sometimes you get a goofy deck, where no matter what you do,
shit shoe, and you
can't fucking you'll get a 20, and they'll pull out some fucking 7-card 21 or push you on a 20 and things like that. When your night is going that way, you got to do all kinds of. You got to throw the fucking kitchen sink at them, whether it's play 1 hand, 2 hands, 3 hands. Split shit you're not supposed to split. Double on shit you're not.
Take hits you're not supposed to hit.
You try to fuck up the shoe.
Okay.
Any way you possibly can. The mentality when you come in is, I'm bringing $2,000. This is what I'm willing to lose in Vegas.
Right.
Oh, fuck that. Instead of, I'm going to bring $2,000, and I'm gonna turn this $2,000 into another 1,000. Where guys have walked in and just fucking pulled off amazing things that, you hear these stories, and that's almost like the fantasy that everybody has.
Of course.
In the history of the city, it's probably happened 7 or 8 fucking times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where a guy walked in with a few hundred and killed it. But if you go in with the mentality that I have, if I can double my money, if you have 1,000 and you win 1,000, get the fuck out. This guy's fucking staying on a 16 when the dealer's showing a 10. Right? He stays, and then you get the fucked up card and everybody gets murdered. And that's what Vegas was built on. All the guys, you have millions of people that come in to the city throughout the year that are just there to fuck around and have fun. And then you have fucking killers. I'm talking snipers that come in that the casinos actually have to be worried about. And they go toe to toe. Yeah, there's these fucking dudes that come in out of Asia.
Yeah.
So how I started to learn how to play Baccarat is I went down to the high limit room at Caesar's Palace. I love Caesar's Palace. So I go down there, and it's all Chinese and Asians down there, and they play Baccarat. They will fucking sit there 7:30 at night till 10 o'clock the next morning.
Jesus.
And they're sitting there. They got their cards. They're writing all this shit down. I learned learning how to play, watching what they do, and learning, you know, the rules and the do's and don'ts of the game. And so I started playing seriously in January. And I beat them for $1 million a night for, I want to say like 23 trips.
What?
23 trips. I beat him for $1 million a night. Then we're about to go on we're going out of town somewhere, and I'm in there. We're literally supposed to be on the fucking plane in like 25 minutes, and I get clipped for $5 million.